It's a dude under a boulder here in Volos. It's just an adventurer. Just
Oh, yeah.
bong.
Greetings, I am James.
And I am Emmy.
And welcome back to the Bestiary, Monster Manual A through Z, or Z, if you're so inclined. And this week, Emmy, we're looking at who?
The Frost Giants.
Yes, the Frost Giants, drawn from Norse mythology and working our way up in the Ordning of giant kind in the standard setting for D&D. Frost Giants are typically blue-skinned, white-haired, and, as the name implies, like a colder environment.
Yes, they typically live in mountains, on glaciers, anywhere that they can get away from the heat of the sun. They are definitely not fans of any kind of heat. They aren't going to want to be near it at all.
Yeah, just naturally inclined to gravitate towards ice and snow and rugged steppes and tundra. Frost giants are reavers, raiders, conquerors, fighters. In many ways, actually, as we will discuss, kind of the other side of the coin from the fire giant that we have discussed in our previous episodes. They emphasize martial prowess. They emphasize being able to take what you want when you want it, and if you can't take it, you don't need it.
Yes, they are absolutely conquerors, much like fire giants, but of a completely different kind. Their progenitors were twins. So that was Surtur and the frost giant Thrym. And in many ways, you can see that martial overlap. But unlike fire giants, they live in clans. They emphasize the importance of family and friends, and they do not make. They do not create things. They do not see it as a worthy pursuit of their time. So any of their weapons, any of their armor have been stolen from others or made from stolen things from others. So if they have a bunch of human armor, they'll kind of clamber it together to make a giant-sized armor.
Right. The way in which, and of course this is not unique to Dungeons and Dragons, the way in which kind of that very idealized Norse raiding culture, the archetypal Viking, has infiltrated so many forms of fantasy, from Game of Thrones to I mean the list is large.
Oh, so long.
They will deign to produce things at a very low level, like they will tan leather or make things out of the skins or bones of animals that they hunt and kill. But in terms of like forging or higher level production, no point. Somebody else has made it. I'm just going to take it from them.
Yes, not only has somebody else made it, but they are averse, as you were saying, to flame, and so therefore they will not stand near a hot forge. They do not enjoy it, and they consider it lower and beneath them, so they just simply will not. They will not do it. Yeah, just straightforward. In many ways, these guys are pretty straightforward in almost everything they do.
Yeah, which actually leaves a lot of room for characterization and expansion of their personalities and culture beyond what is already presented by the Monster Manual and supplementary materials such as Volo's Guide. You have, as we already mentioned, the kind of antagonistic but in some ways complementary relationship with the fire giants. As you mentioned, Emmy, their progenitor gods Surtur and Thrym, both sons of Anam, the Allfather, are twins, and their relationship just between the two of them is hotly or coldly, I suppose, depending on the point of view, contested. Anam, however, favours Surtur over Thrym, preferring the finely crafted works that Surtur produces over the trophy heads that Thrym is able to bring before his father. And this actually leads to an interesting relationship, not just between frost giants and fire giants, but between frost giants and Anam. because Anam favors Surtur, the fire giant progenitor, over Thrym, the frost giant progenitor, frost giants don't like Anam very much, despite him being their creator god. And this is even despite the fact that frost giants are higher in the Ordning than fire giants. Like, by a couple of levels.
It's deeply complex and gets into some stuff that honestly I know we haven't done high amounts of research on, or maybe James has done more because I know he's played and has run this campaign. This gets into some Storm King's Thunder stuff. And it's very clearly left open because D&D has a campaign that explores some of these themes. We are not going to give you guys spoilers for a campaign in this video. We're not jerk faces, so we will not do that to you. But even if you aren't running Storm King's Thunder and you do have giants or giant politics in your campaign, this is a very important part. Frost giants do not worship, well, no giants worship Anam, but they do not hold him in the same high standard as the rest do, where they one day seek to regain his favor. They don't really have that same emotion towards it in any way. They're more interested in taking them for themselves. And because of that, they are also the most likely to actually work with things that are not giants.
Right, so as in all forms of giant society, in various forms, strength is what is respected. Be that your ability with a forge and a hammer in fire giant society, your capacity for artistic talent in stone giant society. For frost giants, it's the ability to raid and reave and fight and just might makes right kind of philosophy. And to that end, you don't even have to be a giant to be respected through those particular lenses. A frost giant warband may well consist of some giants, but also maybe some other very capable non-giants. Perhaps even beasts that they have successfully dominated. And, you know, this is another trait of frost giants that is very interesting, that they are, at their core, like, beast masters.
Yes, they don't keep pets necessarily or anything like that. That's not how they would consider it. But if they have conquered an animal, they will keep it in their warband. And that list can be really, really long. It can be from a polar bear to straight up. Some of them will take young white dragons. I know we've talked about this actually when we did the white dragon episode, that you will sometimes see them in their clans or in their areas or even in their warbands have a young white dragon. And that's so bonkers to me.
Yeah, and I mean, because of the kind of climates that frost giants, you know, they don't exactly make their homes. Frost giants are, on the whole, kind of semi-nomadic. They don't really have settlements per se. They move from one place to another. Because of the environments that they do so in, some of the beasts and animal companions, shall we say, that they can acquire can be really nasty. I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, like, you know, polar bears, young white dragons, remorhazes, like anyway, multiple remorhaz.
It's nasty.
Yeah, so you're almost never going to find a frost giant on its own, which actually links into its kind of more mechanical side. Funnily enough, the frost giant is a lower challenge rating than I think all of the other ones bar the hill giant.
Yes.
And this is probably because individually they may not be as strong, but you're almost never going to encounter them solo. There's probably going to be multiple frost giants, or a frost giant leading its own warband, or a frost giant and a bunch of really gnarly beast companions, or all of the above.
Yes, they really take relationships and things like that, and clans and warband relationships very seriously. Thrym is often depicted as surrounded by shield brothers and sisters. That's very important to them. They do have a sense of a little bit of honor. They don't really want to just like fight something that's weak. There's something about, you know, fighting someone that's sleeping, or things like that that aren't necessarily honorable to them. But other than that, that's kind of the end of where their lines are. Again, very much taking from frost giants in Nordic mythology with just kind of an antagonistic sense of being. I mean, if you look at the art, you can see that basis.
That little bit of, what's the term, when like it's a thing that is inaccurate in a historical sense.
An anachronism.
An anachronism, thank you.
Yes.
You've got the horns on the helmet, which of course Viking warriors never actually had, but has perpetuated itself as an inaccurate meme, I suppose, throughout our perception of history. And there's a little nod to that there, because of course, you know, frost giants aren't real. Why don't we actually have them have this? But yeah, you have that deep blue skin, the long white beard, very wintry colours. Definitely up for a fight, I think, this fella.
I love all the skulls. There's what I'm betting is a dragon skull on his shoulder.
Almost absolutely.
It's very teeny tiny, but I think those are little human skulls on his head.
There are a lot of skulls.
He's glancing down, again with that sense of superiority in height, as many giants still have, of glancing down. While these guys, again, it's important to remember that while fire giants are a higher challenge rating than them alone, these guys are higher in the Ordning. They will still give out orders. They will still expect to be respected from other giants in that way. And especially if you are a humanoid person who's small, you're smaller. Respect.
Yeah, you're probably pretty unlikely to encounter a frost giant and it not go in some way to combat, even if that's not necessarily to the death. Maybe it's to settle a disagreement, maybe it's as a form of bargaining, but these guys are all about being able to showcase their strength and their ability and their prowess.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think that there's, again, so much room for improvisation with these guys because they're so straightforward, but they're almost kind of Legoable. You can just build onto them in so many different optional ways.
I like that term.
Legoable. You can quote me. But you can build on other things onto them. Like you were saying, you could have a fight to have a conversation with one. If it's like, yeah, I won't talk to you till you fight me, and then you fight it, and then you can talk to it. They aren't necessarily looking to hurt people just for the sport of hurting people. That's not necessarily their nature. They want to take and conquer. But if you have something interesting that they want, you might talk to them, but again, they're not particularly nice, and it's not like stone giants who think that they just don't want you anywhere near them. It's just that they're bigger and have things to do. Like hill giants, though, these guys do tend to live not too far away from human and elven and smaller people cities.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, of course, that if you are going to base at least a significant part of your culture and lifestyle off raiding and taking from other, what you perceive as lesser peoples, you need to at least be within a long ship ride's distance of these people. So, frost giants are probably up there in terms of proximity to other races and peoples.
Yeah. Oh, they have long ships. That's so cool. They have
it's actually one of my favorite things about just kind of the imagery associated with frost giants that, there are stories that sailors tell of being out on a cold North Sea night surrounded by ice floes, and then suddenly out of the mists emerges just like this gargantuan vessel crewed by like 20 frost giants, and like it must be like watching a small continent go past kind of thing. Or like kind of the sense of human scale you get when you realize actually how large our kind of modern day container ships are. Just how incredibly large they are.
It's that sense of wonder when you're looking at something that they make. Thank you so much for joining us this week on The Bestiary Monster Manual A through Z. Upon what mountaintop did you encounter a frost giant, and were you able to lay it low into submission and talk trade with its clan? Tell us in the comments down below. We'd really love to hear about it. And while you're there, you can check out all the links for our social media, including our Patreon. We do love our patrons. We're so incredibly grateful for you. Thank you. You can like this video. You can subscribe. You can check out more of our videos here and join us next week when we continue through the Ordning into the Cloud Giants.
So many power metal songs.